Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Carl from Planet 40k. Today we're going to be discussing one of the new units in the Indomitus box set, the Skorpekh Destroyers. Okay, so the Scorpek Destroyers, they come in squads of 3. They're approximately 40 points apiece or 6 power level each. This data sheet shown is most likely just an example unit for the Indominus box preview, so I'd imagine you can put more models within the unit. You can add a plasma sight to the unit, which will increase the power level to 7, and they're an elite option for your detachments in the Necron Codex. Right, so quickly running through this stat line, they've got movement 8, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength 5, toughness 5, wounds 3, attacks 3, leadership 10, and a 3-up save. The plasma sight has a worse stat line than the destroyers, and you can only take one of them. They've got a movement of 8, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, strength 4, toughness 5, wounds 1, attacks 1, 10 leadership, and a 4-up save. So within the unit, there are a few abilities, starting with reanimation protocols, which is in the previous codex anyway. That's where you, at the beginning of your turn, you roll a d6 for any models that were destroyed. On a 5+, they are returned. The second ability is new to the codex, which is Infused Madness, which is where the plasma sight comes in. So at the start of the fight phase, if the unit contains a plasma sight model, it can inject tainted energy, and if it does, you roll 1d6. On a 1, one Scorpek Destroyer model in the unit is destroyed. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the strength and attack characteristics of the Scorpek Destroyer models in the unit. And the third ability is Hardwired for Destruction, which basically gives you reroll hit rolls of 1. So combining those last two abilities is pretty powerful, although it's quite risky because if you roll that 1, then you're going to be slaying one of your own models. But if you do pass it, you're effectively hitting on 3s and re-rolling 1s and giving yourselves the extra attack and strength. So it's very handy. Moving on to the weapons. So one destroyer in this example comes equipped with a hyperphase reap blade, which makes him a strength 7, -4 AP and 3 damage. It's pretty nasty, especially with the Infused Madness ability giving him +1 to his strength, making it strength 8. The other 2 destroyers are equipped with hyperphase Threshers, which are strength user, so that's strength 5, -3 AP and 2 damage. And they can get an extra attack with this weapon, so their attacks go up to 4. Again, if you use the ability mentioned, you take this weapon to a strength 6 and 5 attacks. That's a lot of hurt. The plasma sight has its own melee weapon, which is strength 4, -1 AP and 1 damage, but let's be honest, he's not there to dish out the damage, he's there just to buff the units up. So I won't worry too much about him. So they have a keyword, Destroyer Cult. This interacts with stratagems and also the Scorpek Lord, because he can now give a reroll to wounds buff, and we'll be covering the Lord in the next video. Overall, this unit seems like a decent elite option to include in your Necron army. It's not too overpowered and their damage output is pretty nice, but they do need to get across the battlefield to get into combat on their own accord. So obviously you can put them into transports, but at some point they do need to get across the board if they're going to be useful. So as for their movement, it's a pretty nifty 8-inch, which is quite quick compared to the rest of the Necron infantry. They can be taken, like I said, they can go into transport, so if you've got the Ghost Ark or the Night Scythe, that will protect them while you get them across the board, then you get them out and then get into a fight as soon as you can. Overall, for their movement as an infantry unit, I'm going to give them a 4 out of 5. Okay, obviously they've got no shooting, so I'm going to give them no stars for shooting as they do not have ranged weapons. Okay, as for the combat rating, they dish out some great damage. I'm going to stick to the GW datasheet example to not overcomplicate it too much. But 3 Scorpek Destroyers, 2 of them having the hyperphase Threshers, these alone will have 4 attacks each and hitting on 3s re-rolling 1s rather, so you can expect to be getting approximately 5 hits before the reroll, and then after the reroll you should hope to get 6. Against toughness 3 and 4 models you should be wounding on 3s, so you'll be getting 3 or 4 wounds approximately. Against toughness 5 models you'll be getting about 3 wounds, and toughness 6 models 2 wounds. Then they've got to deal with the -3 AP and 2 damage, which should be cleaning out models off the board, unless they've got the invuns. The hyperphase Reap Blade doesn't get the extra attack, but it is strength 7. So with 3 attacks, you can be approximately getting 2 hits against toughness 3 models and expect 2 wounds. Toughness 4, 5, and 6 models, it's going to be 1.5 wounds. And toughness 7, approximately 1 wound. Again, the -4 and damage 3 should be wiping models off the board unless they've got the invuns. This weapon though is more handy towards dealing with monsters and light vehicles. But don't forget, you can also take that plasma sight as we previously mentioned and buff these stats up, giving a lot more attacks. Especially that hyperphase reap blade where you can put it up to strength 8, which is a key number because it doubles most infantry that have the toughness 4. You're going to double them, so you're only going to be wounded on 2s. And a lot of vehicles are toughness 7, so you're only going to be needing 3s rather than 4s to wound those. If the plasma sight was to be rated on its own as a separate combat unit, I'd be giving him a 1 out of 5, so let's take him out of the equation for a moment. The Skorpekh Destroyers for me get a 4 out of 5. Not quite a 5 as they're not overpowered, but they can be fantastic if they're allowed to be in larger units, especially with the plasma sight buffing a lot more of them at once. But purely judging them on this datasheet given by GW, I'm going to give them the 4. So in terms of value for points, 40 points per model, which is rumored to be their point cost, is decent for a 3-win model at toughness 5 and a 3-up save. And don't forget the reanimation protocols on top of that. So you're getting a real solid elite unit that can get into combat and get there with quite a decent amount of pace. They've got good enough to take on whatever's thrown at them, whether it's a vehicle, an infantry unit, whatever. You take the extra plasma sight as an additional wound. So if you let's say you get shot with a las cannon, you can take it on the plasma sight and take the d6 damage and let him eat it so that you don't have to lose any models due to it. I think value for points, I'm torn between a 3 and a 4 star, but I'm more closer to 4, so that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to give them a 4 out of 5. Overall, I like the models, I like the weapons. It's a decent multi-damage inflicting unit that is tough enough to hold on its own. The unit combined can dish out roughly 6 to 8 wounds per battle round, obviously depending on enemy models, but it can deal with plenty of different ones, like I said. It's got a lot of weapon buffs. I'm sure it will chew through most infantry troop units with ease. So overall, I'm going to be giving these guys a Planet 40k rating 4 out of 5. So if you've liked this video, please give us a thumbs up, smash the notification button, and also please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.